All right, so it looks like Calvin made a couple mistakes in his problems here. We're going to talk about where we saw them. So he's got two problems. It looks like he backtracked on one of them, and then the other one, it appears he looked like he did some basic moves. So let's see if we can figure out his first mistake. As I look at the problem, 4x squared minus 5 equals 59. Again, I'm always thinking about those order of operations or gems, right? And first is grouping. I don't see any grouping symbols, but squaring should be next. And it looks like, unfortunately, Calvin misses that. He multiplies by 4 because he sees that 4 in front of x squared, when in reality, that squaring happens first. So that's Calvin's mistake. He multiplied by 4 instead of squaring. In his order of operations. And that was going forwards. I think if you follow his work after that mistake, his work is fine. He adds 5 on the way back, would do the square root next if he was supposed to be squaring, and then he would divide by 4 to get his two answers there, but unfortunately he had already flip-flopped those. So how should Calvin fix his mistake? To me, I would say he needs to start at the beginning and write out the correct order of operations. So he should start over and make sure to square x first. All right, so let's look what that correct work would look like if we were to backtrack here. So Calvin should start with x. Instead of multiplying by 4, we should get the squaring done. Then x squared is multiplied by 4. Then that's a multiplication, sorry. We subtract 5 to get 59. So on the way back, add 5, still 64. Divide by 4 gets us to 16. Now I'm going to go my two routes of positive and negative square root of 16, which give us 4 and negative 4 for x. So x equals 4 and negative 4. All right, let's look at Calvin's second problem here. This one looks like he did basic moves. Again, thinking about that order of operations or gems here. Let's see, x plus 5 quantity squared. It's being multiplied by 4, add 7. So subtracting 7 as the last operation that happens is adding 7. So the first one that should be happening in the redoing of it or undoing of it is minus 7. So I like that. Then it looks like Calvin distributes here. This little 2 is blocking distribution from being allowed. All right, order of operations wise, we can't multiply by 4 yet because that x is being added 5 and then squared. And when we square it, it is not going to look that same way. So we cannot multiply that 4 into the equation until we deal with that squaring. So Calvin, unfortunately, distributed the 4 before dealing with the exponent. And you're not allowed to do that. Now, that doesn't mean that we should be square rooting either. I think instead of distributing the 4, realistically, we should just be dividing by that 4. But unfortunately, you can't multiply that 4 in there until we have no exponent present, which I don't think we have to do in this case. How should Calvin fix his mistake? Instead of distributing by 4, I think he should divide by 4 and then square root. So instead of distributing the 4, he should divide by 4 and then continue the problem. So square root, etc. So the correct work here, when he gets to 4 times x plus 5 quantity squared equals 144, the correct work would be not to distribute, not to square root yet, but to undo that multiplication using division. Now we have x plus 5 quantity squared equals 36. Then we have our positive square root and our negative square root. That gives us x plus 5 equals 6, and x plus 5 equals negative 6. So we get x equaling 1. Subtract 5 there, and we get x equals negative 11. So there you have it. Make sure you feel pretty good about this before beginning the next topic.